Hey there, and welcome to this course on Soar's Opus 60, number 16. What a beautiful piece. It's got it all. It's heartbreaking, it's got the pathos, it's got the builds, and it's got fun little flourishes. It's just a beautiful song. It's got a couple of really nice musical challenges in it. So here's what's gonna happen. In this video, we're gonna take a look at the overview of the piece, just take a look at the land from 30,000 feet. And we'll also talk about how the course is organized, how we're going to go through it. And we'll also talk about the differences between this arrangement that I've made and the earlier arrangements that presumably are closer to the original. All right, so let's jump in. So here we have our sheet music in notation. Now, first off, if you don't read notation well, or you would like to use the tab for any reason, that's perfectly fine. The course will go through and use the notation, but there are a few ways that you can keep up if you use the tab. And this is the way that the course is organized. If you'll notice here, we have these little numbers in squares. They're on the first part of the lines for the first page, but then aren't everywhere. And so these are the practice sections. I have created these practice sections. You could make different practice sections or make these smaller, so split them in half. But this is how the course is organized, is that we'll take each of these practice sections, practice section 1, and we will dig into it, look at the left hand, look at the right hand, look at everything that's going on. And then we'll also talk about the phrasing and the expression and things like that. If you're a more advanced player and using this as a study in phrasing and expression, then you can skip the videos on how to play it with your hands and then just go straight to the phrasing videos. So in your practice packet, you'll find each of these practice sections separated, and you'll find the tab version of that as well. The other way that you can do it is by measure number. So if you'll look, I know this is really small, at the beginning of each line is a little number, and that's the measure number. And so measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is there, 9 is there, 12 is there. So that's another way that you can keep up with where we are in the course. And then you can just look at, they just line up on the page with the tab. So going forward, let's just take a look at this. I know this is really small, but to start off with, we are in the key of G, 1 sharp, F sharp, and we're in 2/4 time. So now that we're in 2/4 time, we know how we're going to be counting this. And that means that we're going to be counting mainly 1 and 2 and, because we mainly see eighth notes. But then we can also look at, do we have any smaller note values? And we do. We have 16th notes. There's this other thing over here that we'll talk about when we get there. But for the most part, we have 16th notes and eighth notes. So in the measures that have 16th notes, well, the measures that count eighth notes will have 1 and 2 and. And that's how we'll count this, counting eighth notes. For the measures that have 16ths, we'll say 1 E and 2 E and for each one. And that's just for the measures where we have the 16th notes. And so that's how we'll be clapping and counting out loud. We can also look for major sections. And if you zoom in here, then we have right here a double bar. And that's a really good sign that there's a new section starting in this. And there is. There is a new section starting here. And that goes all the way until we go back to the melody, the very A section right here. So the big form of this is we have A, and then we have this big B section, which starts right here. We go back to the A section, but it's a little bit different, so we'll call it A prime, put a little 1 there, and this is how we do musical form. So ABA is the form of this, or AB A prime is the form of this piece. So this second A is going to be mostly like the first A with some embellishments and some slight variations. In playing this piece, I changed a few fingerings. And if you'll look, we also, at the score, we also have these little lines that go like this off of notes. This is to signify that they ring over. So sometimes, if you'll notice, we also have these rests sometimes in this main melody. Here it is again. There's a rest, a rest, a rest. I know this is crazy small. Sometimes these rests are really just to make it look tidy on the page. It's not meant to play those rests. Some rests are. We want to hear it. We want to cut the sound and hear the rest. We want the space. Ba-da-da, boom. And so we want the space to create that energy.
Here we don't. We want it to flow over. We want it to be flowing and continuous, but it doesn't look that way on the page, and so I added these little lines to signify that. I also changed a couple of fingerings in this area to facilitate letting the notes ring over better, so that we wouldn't have finger hops. The other thing that I did differently here, I added these dynamics, that's loud and soft, so I added these expressive markings, and I also I didn't change any notes within these slurs, but the original one had it multiple hammer-on pull-off sessions, and I just like to do them all as one because I think it makes it sound better going forward. And we'll talk more about that. Same thing happened here. So I just changed the slur markings through there, and that's it. So just wanted to be clean about that as far as what is mine and what is Soar's markings or his editors or whoever did it. All right, this is the piece. Feel free to take as long as you need with each section. There's no expected time that this piece should take. You can spend tons of time on one little section and then you might fly through another section, and that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. With the expression and the musical, the phrasing and musicality and doing these things, this takes a lot of different types of work and different amounts of time. So it's always good to just let yourself off the hook as far as any time expectations. If this piece takes 1 day, wonderful. If it takes 3 years, wonderful. It doesn't matter. All right, with all that said, let's get into this thing. See you in the next video, practice section number 1.